Astra Travelers, and welcome to Season 4 of Tales of Teyvat, a Genshin Lore Podcast.
Hey, cutie. Do you know who the Witch of Purple Rose is? It's me, sweetie, Lisa.
Feeling a bit lazy? Looking for just the right read to enjoy with your afternoon tea? Well, we're spilling it all over the place over at our website, talesofteyvat.com, where each episode features its own electrified yarn ball full of visuals and comments zapped right at ya for free from Tiff's twisted mind.
Our site also includes links to our past seasons and special episodes, artist spotlights from the community for every episode, some wallpapers that you can download, and some other fun stuff. You should check it out.
Finally, feel free to email us at talesofteyvatpod@gmail.com to let us know what you think of this week's episode and what topics you'd like to see in the future. But before we start talking about everyone's favorite cutie, Kirara just stopped by with a letter. Starting this season, we're going to be reading messages from afar from travelers through our emails and social media. Each week, Kirara will make sure to deliver our mail on time, even if she's coming all the way from Natlan. This week, our letter comes from Iona, and they wrote, "Hi, I really like your podcast. Thank you. I have a question for you. If you could choose to be related to any Genshin character, NPCs included, who would it be?"
Well, I would be one of Cloud Retainer's adopted children.
Fuck you. I was going to do the same thing.
We can have the same answer. It's fine.
Perfect, because I choose the same one. Look, after Lantern Rite and seeing how Ganyu picked up Shenhe, was the best big sister, as an only child, I need that in my life.
I mean, after Shin Yun's story quest, it was just so touching. Not that Feeny has played it yet.
Wow.
Called out.
So would you be a disciple or a relative in that case?
Yeah, are you breaking the
Both.
system?
It'd be both.
Because you're like adopted disciple.
I'm already a
so just
disciple. I'm ready to be adopted into the, the family circle.
Does that mean Moonkara is going to be your daddy?
Uh,
Oh, he
no,
already
too
was.
late. Too
adopt.
late.
My initial reaction was to say I would love to be related to Kaya, but then that would mean I'm Conrian, and I don't really want to deal with that.
It's a lot of drama.
That's just too much to deal with.
Too much. Yeah. So my next one was Gaming. I feel like he'd be a very fun brother to have. We'd have some great times. I'd learn a lot, and we could trauma bond, and it'd be great.
Oh my god.
And he's also sort of tied to Cloud Retainer, so we could be cousins.
Yes, cousin.
I would have to go with my girl Rosaria. I want to be her sister, and I want to sit in the back of the church and smoke cigarettes and talk shit about everybody and just be like the gossiping queens in the corner.
But wait, aren't you sexually attracted to her?
Well, why'd you just have to make that complicated?
I'm sorry. It's, the first episode of the season. I just thought we needed to bring up surprise incest.
No.
Oh, I made surprise incest. Ew.
I'm stuck in the pew.
No. Already stuck in pews this season.
Oh my god.
Well, I'm going to ignore Brandon's comment. I will accept your familial relations to Rosaria for now.
Listen, Tiff is the one that is always talking about her ass.
This is true. It is valid.
Yeah.
Okay, but Tiff and I have agreed that there is one giant ass in
Yeah.
Genshin. And it's Shenhe, like I've always told.
No, it's Risley.
Okay. It was before, until Shenhe got her new outfit.
I think we're going to give 2 awards. Pants wearers and dress wearers.
Ooh, okay.
What about tights wearers?
Well, tights would be considered
All
pants.
right, Mona vote. We get where you're going.
It would be considered pants, not like the pants as panties, the UK. I see you.
Not the UK. We love you guys, but oh my god.
They call panties pants.
Do they really?
My cousin, she lives in London, and I'm like, oh yeah, I just gotta change my pants. And she looked at me bewildered. I'm like, I tap, my leggings, and I'm like, my pants. She's like, oh. You're not talking about your fanny. I'm like, no.
Oh no.
Well, on that note, Iona, thank you so much for the question. As per usual, we took
Thank
it
you,
into a
Iona.
different route and talked about butts.
Yeah.
But surprise incest.
But let's talk about someone who definitely admires the Travelers butt every time she calls us cutie. we have Lisa. So Lisa Minchie, which also I have so many questions about that. Like, why does she have a last name, but we never see it anywhere?
Yeah, I Googled it, and in all honesty, at first I thought it was made up. It's like, nope, this is a real thing.
It sounds Italian, no?
It is. So it's derived from the Latin word Dominicus, meaning belonging to the Lord God. Very Italian, very Roman. But then I was saying it constantly, and then I was like, Minci, Da Vinci. And then I remembered the TikTok of the twins going, Da Vinci? With Jean and D-Luke and Kaya, we have surnames that mean a lot and are very poignanted to the story and the lore. But Minci, the fuck is that? Like, are we mincing meat here? We're mincing?
Lisa Minci.
Minci. And it's like, how Italian are we going with this? Because I didn't realize we had anything Italian until we got to Fontaine.
Yeah, the whole Italian thing is very interesting because we don't get any Italian, like you said, until Fontaine. And Lisa is supposed to be from Mondstadt, even though she studied in Sumeru. So there's a lot of weird questions there. Of course, we don't know anything about her parents because they've never gotten brought up. So, is she an orphan? We don't know.
Do we actually know that she's from Mondstadt directly? Because I feel like there was a lot of wishy-washiness about that.
I think there is a lot of wishy-washy. I don't think it's anything like concrete.
Well, she could have been born somewhere else, but she was definitely in Mondstadt before she went to Sumeru
Yeah.
because they specifically say that she returned to Mondstadt.
Gotcha.
Regardless of birthplace, this is her home.
Yeah, and like I saw it written a lot as she chose to go to Mondstadt. So it was more so that she was choosing not to stay in Sumeru, but I was getting very confused on that.
I've mostly seen it referred to as she returned to Mondstadt. Of course, we don't know where she was born, but I would definitely say she considers herself a Mondstadtian.
Okay.
Which is weird because, like, she definitely has Sumeru vibes. Who knows if her name is freaking Italian? Are we going to see it Italian somewhere? I don't know. Everything that I've seen from, like, notes from Cyrus, things that Sino has said, is that she returned. So she at least lived in Mondstadt prior to going to college type of thing.
Gotcha.
So we first meet Lisa in Jean's office, which is sus to begin with.
I don't think so. I think they were making out or reading books or eating pizza or drinking tea. They are the best of buds.
Sus in the middle of Storm Terror Crisis.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think they sent Kaya basically just to bring you there.
Yeah, because they say something like, oh, like almost like they're here. They're almost here now. Like our plan's almost working, blah, blah, blah. That's not an exact quote.
I mean, I think it is.
But it's like, ha, sus as shit.
It definitely falls into Lisa's laziness. She's like, we're going to send Kaya. We're going to stay here.
She's just tired.
Yeah.
If I don't have to get up, I'm not gonna.
We are introduced to her initially during this Mondstadt story quest. She's introduced to us as the librarian. We know nothing else about her except that the ley lines are driving her wild. She's got frizzy hair basically, and everything's electrocuting her.
Which makes sense because we find out later that as a Spontamod expert within the Sumeru Akademiya, she was all about the ley lines.
It makes sense even more later on when you find out that she's a witch, if her hat didn't give it away right off the bat.
That stupid hat with the doily on it. It's like the hat's already done and now you have a doily on your hat.
I like that the doily is throwing you over the top.
It is.
The doily is
I
the
hate
breaking
it so
point.
much.
Like, no.
Whose hat is worse, hers or Mona's?
Oh, Lisa's 100%.
Yeah.
And it has that stupid bell thing on it. No.
Wait, okay. The bell is fine because it's like a kitty cat. Like pussat.
It's a lantern with a rose in it.
Yeah, I would say it's camp for sure. But I respect Lisa too much for her to be campy.
I'm dead.
I'm just kidding. I really don't respect her that much.
Wow.
But I do love her.
I will say too, on her original hat, not her Sumeru hat, she has like this rose with these two things sticking out and they kind of look like Sino's ears and it's cute.
Oh yeah.
I like her Sumeru hat though, her Akademiya hat and her skin.
Yes, that outfit's very cute.
That's the best outfit.
The sexiest Akademiya student that there is.
Yeah.
Everybody else has like these long robes on, and she's like, let me spice this up.
I mean, it is Lisa. So like, I get it. Why be studious if you can't also be a sleut?
It's true.
All right, Sloot.
Look, she's reading smut every day while she's drinking her tea with Jean, and it's glorious. It's absolutely amazing.
Well, smut aside, Lisa in the Archon line helps us find Dvalin's like teardrops, and she's the one who really points us in the right direction when it comes to all of the crazy domains and everything that we have to do. I won't go into too much detail with it because I think we've covered that a lot in the past.
Yeah, I mean, she also teaches us all like the gameplay mechanics when it comes to all the elemental stuff. Lisa is great, especially, I mean, Bees can relate with his Kagura parody at R2 on her.
She definitely gets better with the right weapon.
Yes. You just gotta put the love and time she deserves.
She does, yeah, she does deserve it. She deserves to be pampered, and I do pamper my Lisa. Now, would I say she's great at combat?
She's great at helping me find the Aranara, so that's all that really matters. But during the Archon line, we do get to have a separate hangout almost with Lisa. It's kind of that weird thing they do with some of the 4-stars where they give them storylines that are interwoven into the Archon quest, where we have to help Lisa find a book. And this book ends up being the Six Pygmies, very important book.
Oh, yeah.
But Lisa can't find it. This is when we find out that while Lisa rarely is spotted outside of the library, she does go to fetch her own lost books.
She's like, this shit's way too important to leave this to Kaya.
It's like the one thing that she does.
I mean, if you think back to like IRL life and how books and manuscripts were so expensive, if you think like that, say the printing press isn't there. I mean, clearly it is. We have cameras. But I would expect all these books are insanely expensive. And so, like, yeah, she's gonna be on someone's ass. Like, you are 20 minutes overdue. I need you right here, right now, and get with your late fee. Like, I kind of expect that type of behavior, but she knew exactly who to go to who had this book, and it ended up being stolen from the person.
Right. It was it Donna that it was stolen from?
It was stolen from Donna by an abyss mage.
Stupid abyss mages.
That can't be.
What's really interesting too about Lisa is we know that she's very smart, and whether that is just a normal characteristic of her or something that comes from being in the academia, it's always in the library. She prefers to spend time with the rare books.
I think it's definitely just within her nature. Like, I think she's a natural genius because
Yeah.
she, graduated from the academia like super fast.
Yeah, within like 2 years.
Yeah, which Layla has a voice line that sort of implies that that's unheard of and that she's a prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the event that we get, the slutty scholar outfit, Gafor kind of mentions that she was the best student in the last 200 years.
Well, no, that was Cyrus who says that, who was her teacher. Yeah, Gafor is a jerk. Like, he's like really angry at Lisa for
Yeah.
leaving Sumeru and going back to Mondstadt, and he's very prejudiced against Mondstadt because he calls it a backwater.
He's not so good for Lisa. Is that what you're saying?
Oh
Wow.
my
No, I think
God.
he is. I think the fact that Cyrus's like amazing prodigy going to Mondstadt where he thinks is a backwater, I think he would take that as an insult to Cyrus, and it also vicariously an insult to him. Like, why would this smart person be in Mondstadt? I'm like, well, there are many reasons. And go fuck yourself, Gafor.
Yeah, I mean, it's really kind of just an echo. And so we find this out about Gafor in that Sumeru quasi-demi event
Yeah.
where Lisa's on vacation. So it's not really an event, but you just run into her in different places in Sumeru. But we learn a lot through that. And Gafor's attitude is kind of a more intense echo of attitudes of other people that have a lot of thought. People like to have a lot of thoughts about Lisa, and there's just this general consensus of like, oh, she's a genius, and she could be so useful, but she chooses not to be.
Yeah. Even Albedo, he has a voice line about Lisa where he's kind of like, I don't understand why someone with such talent would choose to just be a librarian. He does know, of course, that he thinks there's something more to it. I think Albedo is kind of seeing underneath her facade a little bit. I also think that's because, in my opinion, Lisa and Albedo must work kind of closely together. We've seen Lisa babysit Klee, and also Lisa mentions that there is an alchemy lab upstairs and she's in charge of potions, even though she has kind of pawned that off as well to someone else. She has like 3 tasks that she no longer does, just so you guys know. And she's given them to like Huffman, Swan, and I think Kaya.
She knows how to play the game.
She gave one to Kaya, which he sort of utilized Huffman and Swan for. She also gave one to Flora,
Oh,
who uses
yes.
Donna. And then I don't know about the potion one.
Nobody's doing anything they're supposed to. They're just giving it to somebody else.
Right. And Lisa was offered to be the captain of the 8th company, and she turned it down. And it was kind of weird how she turned it down, because then she started to like write letters of recommendation for this other person, Nymph.
No. So when she first joined the Knights, Varka wanted to make Lisa captain of the 8th company.
Right.
And there was this other person who was a field officer in the 8th company named Nymph that we've never met, who I can't wait to meet. And Nymph was like, I don't agree with this. I don't think that someone that's just an academic should be coming into the Knights of Favonius as captain of the 8th company. Excuse me. And so then Kaya was like, well, I think this could be settled with a battle demonstration.
I can't with him.
And then Lisa was like, no, you know what? I'm all good because I don't want it. I don't want this position. I'm turning it down. And so everyone was like, oh, well, I guess Nymph is going to do it. But Nymph, in the meantime, becomes super respectful of Lisa, I guess, seeing what she can do, and is like, oh, I actually think that Lisa should be captain of the 8th company now. And so she starts writing letters of recommendation to Varka saying, you need to make her captain. At one point, Varka is like, I already, like, he gets to know Lisa and is like, no, she doesn't want this. So he starts forwarding Nymph's letters to Lisa directly. And Lisa's still like, nope,
Okay.
not going to do it, not taking it.
It's wild. And you're right. I can't wait to meet Nymph. What's interesting too is that Kaya is already in the Knights when Lisa joins the Knights. So I have so many questions about that, because in the manga, where Lisa is a heavy character, she's already the librarian. So when did Lisa come in? Like, how old was Kaya and Diluc? You know, was Diluc still a part of the Knights of Favonius at that time as well? And why is Kaya making decisions that people are going to duke it out? And why, like, they just were like, yeah, Kaya's right, go for it.
It was just a suggestion.
Yeah, but they were here for it. They were. Varka probably was ready to get drunk and make bets.
I mean, wouldn't you?
Was Varka even there?
Well, Varka offered her the position, so he had to be somewhere.
Like, he had to be somewhere.
Somewhere in the vicinity.
I think it could be assumed that Jean wasn't in charge at that point.
No, wasn't in the manga. That's just after Varka went on the expedition, right?
We don't know how long it's been since Varka went on the expedition. In the manga, we know that he's gone. We know that Jean is acting Grand Master, but we're not really sure how long it's been. You could try to gauge it based off of Diluc. So it's assumed that Diluc has only been back in Mondstadt for 6 months when the manga starts, and he was gone for like an assumed anywhere from like 1 to 3 years after his dad died. So there's a really wide range here of what could have happened timing wise.
That makes it so fucked.
Which also makes me curious about when Lisa like graduated from the Akademiya, because
well, she didn't graduate. She dropped out, right?
No, she graduated.
Yeah, she graduated. And in the manga, Lisa is trying to help Kale with something, which is great. I love the Kale Lisa stuff every time I read the manga. And she can't read this certain language, but she's like, don't worry, I'm gonna write back to my professors and they're gonna send help. And she writes to, we assume, Cyrus, and he sends Sino over. And Sino is assumed to have just recently graduated from the Akademiya. At that point, it does seem that he's already the general Mahamatra, or is at least higher up in the Mahamatra at that point. So there's also like this interesting timing of, how long has it been since Lisa left? How long was Sino in the Akademiya? Nothing makes sense. There is no straight timeline yet.
Yeah, which I don't mean to derail in-game timeline, but I did want to say, going back to Nymph and that whole conversation where Nymph was like, she should be the captain now. I believe it now. And Lisa's like, no thanks. Lisa's character story 4 says that such a level of power, and by that we mean being a captain of the 8th company, would be risky for Lisa, quote, in a way that most people couldn't appreciate, end quote. And that takes us back to this long-standing legend about Lisa, which is from outside of the actual game, that I think we need to like address before we get into like too much more.
Right.
Which is that her lifespan allegedly has been cut in half. And this is from an interview with a product manager, Jason Schwang, and we can post the link to this in our website. But a website did a sort of a demo of this game back in March of 2020, which was quite a few months before the game actually came out. And they were doing this with the guidance of a product manager named Jason. And Jason sort of spills these beans during this whole exploration that Lisa, in terms of the lore, touched a magic book that gave her most of her powers, but also cut her lifespan in half. And that's why she has such a carefree personality. And that is not reinforced 100% within the game, but there are little clues that make it seem like, okay, is this what's happening to her? Or did they sort of switch gears and go in a different direction with her? And they kept the laziness and the flazé-da attitude, but the origins of it were, something different. Like, is she actually like gonna die soon, or did they sort of rewrite that whole idea?
Right. And I was trying to look it up, and I was in a ton of Reddit threads this weekend. And from what I can tell, it does seem to mostly be a scrapped beta storyline.
Yeah.
But I think that means nothing, because there are so many things that still allude to the fact that Lisa is going to die soon, in my opinion.
It's your favorite theory, is that so-and-so is going to die soon.
Well, yeah.
I mean, replace it with Diluc or Kaya or, really anybody at this point, except Kale. We protect our baby girl.
Her constellation, Tempest.
No, she's like,
Frigate?
no, I think Kale's going to die too.
Yeah, well, that's a different
Yeah.
story. That's a different story. Tempest Frigate, and I might be saying that wrong. That is her constellation. It translates Fugit. I
Is
like
it
mine
Fugit? I don't
better.
know.
I think it's Latin, so I mean, it's a dead language. Go with it.
I think mine's more fun, so Fuege. It means as time flies, and when you look at Mona's voice line about Lisa, she says the constellation derives its name from the hourglass and stands for knowledge and time, or rather, the trade-off between them. As each grain of sand falls down, a moment of time, of life even, dies for good. To stop the unrelenting flow of sand, one would have to turn the hourglass on its side. But once the sand comes to rest, it remains motionless forever. Maybe becomes lazy is more accurate than comes to rest in this case. So it's almost suggesting that her hourglass has been turned to the side and that Lisa isn't aging at all.
Wait, do you think that the more she learns, the faster she dies?
Maybe. Maybe.
That seems really frightening.
I don't know. I feel like there is a turnoff in it right now. Like, I do feel like based on Mona, she's not aging and she's not dying.
But wait, that doesn't make sense because she constantly reads
Right.
when she's not sleeping.
It's more of an existential, like the time spent learning could have been used in a different way, could have been
Yeah.
used to spend with family, with loved ones. And I think maybe that's where Lisa's like, I spent all this time to gain all this knowledge. And am I happy? No, but I am happy doing this. And everyone calls me lazy for it, but fuck them. And I think it could be interpreted either way.
Yeah, well, her character stories say that her lazy attitude is a result of, quote, noticing the types of effects the pursuit of knowledge can have on a person, end quote. And in her character story 5, it actually goes into a little bit of specifics where it says that she personally witnessed raving mad scholars in the forests of Sumeru and powerful sages sitting underutilized on advisory councils. And then Sino even chimes in with a voice line and says that he has also seen, basically bad things that happen to people who pursue too much knowledge. So he empathizes with Lisa and understands her reasoning for leaving Sumeru and sort of like tapping out. Because at first I was like, there's some kind of bigger story here, but part of me also just thinks that Lisa is like, it's not worth it. It's not like the academic world is not worth it, especially in the context of this game where the gods have all these like weird machinations for, regular people down into that. And she talks a lot about the unknown costs of knowledge.
Yeah. She like point blank tells that to Gafor during the second blooming event, where she's like, giving up my life in Mondstadt and returning to the Akademiya as a spot-to-mod researcher, the price of seeking wisdom is no longer something I'm willing to pay. And then like there was something about projects, and it's like, but most of those projects end in failure. To be honest, they went too far trying to achieve wisdom beyond mortal understanding. So failure was only to be expected. I didn't want any part of that lunacy, so I left.
Yeah, and this comes up again when she's talking about getting her vision. And she specifically talks about the costs of pursuing knowledge when it relates to the gods granting visions to people and the power that normal people in Teyvat have, and how people are like getting a little piece of this power, but no one actually knows what the cost is. And that she's kind of like waiting for someone to discover the truth about visions, which is so foreboding and scary. And there's this big question about Lisa and how much is just laziness and how much is like, oh, well, she knows the real truth.
It's really interesting you brought up like Sino's voice line about Lisa, because his voice line about Lisa is so similar to his voice line about Tignari, where, he says that Tignari is so different than other scholars. He sets boundaries that others don't. And he specifically says that some scholars see themselves as gods within their own laboratories, and Tignari doesn't. And he basically says the same sentiment with Lisa. I understand that she's seen stuff and that she doesn't want to see herself as a god. And even Tignari, when talking about Lisa, says, Sino's talked about her. And Tignari says it's a pity she returned to Mondstadt, but perhaps in the course of her study, she witnessed some horrifying side of knowledge. And not to sidetrack it too much to Sino, but when you think about Sino's past, and we've done a whole episode on him, but we know that he was experimented on, just like Kale was. And Cyrus, Sino, and Lisa see themselves as a family unit. We saw that in the last Windbloom, where Lisa says, "Ooh, I get to call you a baby brother." And Sino's like, "No, please, God." And he blushes and all that jazz. But Lisa saw what true academic pursuit can do. The terrible, terrible things that they did to Sino. She witnessed that firsthand. She remembers when Sino came to Cyrus for the first time. So I would like to say that even if she didn't have something happen to herself, she might have seen what happened to Sino and been like, I'm going to graduate and leave. This is crazy.
I mean, y'all remember the I'll Hate Them story quest?
Oh, with the hive mind?
Yeah, that shit's so fucked. Like,
Yeah.
it's like she probably saw a bunch of stuff like that happening, or at least maybe not to that extent, but to the degree where it's like people are getting fucked up in this pursuit of knowledge. And like, not to say that that doesn't happen in IRL, because it does, but it's just like you got to step back to a point and it's like, is that worth it? Is it worth it to lose myself into that?
Yeah, I actually really love the way they did that, where on one level, it's the disillusionment with academia, which a lot of people have experienced. And on the other hand, it's like we're in this heightened world of Teyvat where literally knowledge can have disastrous consequences. So they really did this in a clever way where Lisa is like, what does she know? Or is she just sick of college? It's like,
Yeah.
have y'all seen The Chair with Sandra Oh?
No.
Okay, well,
Another Brandon movie recommendation.
it's a show.
Oh, okay.
It's very much like playing with exposing the bullshit behind college and like academia and how much of a stupid circle jerk it is. So it's really interesting to see sort of like how they've played with that versus like the secrets of like people's pursuit of knowledge in Sumeru, and how she's just kind of like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm done. And it's like, is that because she's in danger, she's scared, or is she just like over it?
There's a quote in her, I think it's character story 5, where she says, "Before demanding too many miracles from the gods, first consider if you're willing to pay the price they ask." And then it notes that she said this to 3 people since arriving in Mondstadt because she knew they needed to hear it, which makes me feel like there were 3 people that she was like, they're going to go too far and I need to like stop it because I know what that could become.
And the question is, who are those 3 people? You know, we know the people in
Albedo?
Mondstadt. I think Albedo would have said something if she said, I think that would be in like his voice line.
But
Maybe.
it also asks the question of how does she know things will get scary? Because scary is a word that is used to describe Lisa herself in a couple different places. Like, part of me wonders if her being sort of languid is to keep herself from being pushed overboard.
Yeah.
Because she's noted as being scary. When she gets angry, it causes the air to be filled with electricity. And it makes me wonder if she's like in danger of becoming sort of overloaded and losing her mind, like Senora. Remember the other witch
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
Spontamod?
Those Spontamod witches.
Yeah, and Razor actually has a voice line where he says that she makes the sky black. She is strong. She is scary. And there's a lot of stuff in her character stories about Lisa's very easygoing unless you interrupt her during one of her naps, and then look out, she's scary. Like, there's this whole vibe around her character of like she's really chill unless she gets angry, and then it's like, be careful because she could hurt you.
Yeah, Kaya literally has a voice line where he says he was late once with a book and she got so angry that his arm is still numb.
Yeah.
I have so many questions. I'm like, what did she do to your arm?
Is that like just a weird Spontamod like witch thing of like they're channeling so much, elemental energy that they could snap and like just go full Dark Phoenix?
Well, I think it also brings into our whole question about like curses and stuff, because I mean, the whole time you're saying like Lisa could go AWOL, I'm thinking of Shang Yun too. I'm thinking of Shenhe and her robes.
Mhm.
Like, there are other
Yeah.
characters that are known that if they get angry, you should get away from them.
I mean, but Shungyun, like his is a little. I would say it's a little different after.
No,
after
it's exactly the same as Shenhe's.
It is. Thank
Ow.
It
you.
is.
It is.
I
According
thought
to
we saw
Feeny.
it at
We barely saw it. We know that Shang Yun has literally destroyed the Wanmin restaurant before. Like,
I thought that's just because he got so excited.
yeah,
It
but
was like-
we've never seen angry Shang Yun. You know what I mean? Like, that
Oh, that's
energy
true.
has never been channeled. It's always an excitement that we're seeing. So it's possible that he also could lose his mind, like Senora or Lisa or Shenhe.
Or he just never gets angry.
I'm not saying that we've seen it. Well, I mean, he does a lot of tranquil things. But I did want to go back to what you were saying about how Lisa seems to know everything.
Yeah, she's like a well-rounded genius.
And there's a few like interesting points that get brought up about that. I think one is in the manga, Lisa right away knows what's going on with Kale. Right away is like, oh, she wants to come into the library to read some books, which Lisa also was like, if she can even read. And I was like, whoa, Lisa, the shade, because she couldn't. Lisa's like, don't worry, what she has won't destroy the books, and we could sterilize the books by letting them out in the sun. So like Lisa right away is like, I know you're not well, and I know you can spread this, but don't worry, I can fix my books. Another instance of it is with Eula. Eula actually has a voice line where she basically talks about how she despises Lisa because Lisa is basically a walking historian in her eyes.
I think despise is a strong word.
Yeah, but everything's vengeance with her. So yes, it's despised in Eula's head.
No, she just says that she's annoying.
I think that if you asked Eula, she would tell you she despises Lisa. But that's what I'm getting at, is like, according to Eula, if you were to talk to her, not according to Eula in the head.
Oh, okay. I see.
Like, on the outside, Eula basically despises Lisa because Lisa can tell you every single thing that the Lawrence clan has done wrong. I will say I agree with Brandon that she definitely seems to more so admire her a little bit, because she's basically like, if I could get past my ego, I'd ask her questions about someone I'm looking for.
Yeah. Which, like, who is it? Who is she looking for?
And she's always is looking for someone. Like in Bottleland, she was looking for someone. She found him. So that's all, just interesting little notes of things that Lisa knows. But I don't know. It's interesting how much she knows. I also think it's interesting that Cyrus is now retired.
Yeah. So I like that he's retired and he lives in like the professor's retirement village. And one of the professors is constantly accusing him of sabotaging her tomatoes because they have a competition, a tomato growing competition amongst the professors. It's so ridiculous.
So cute.
I love it.
Yeah, there's definitely a war going on there.
Yeah.
Also, that little area is so tiny. It's like, aren't those like the only two people that live there?
The only retired professors, because all the other ones became sages and then got kicked out, and they're now in the
Yeah.
forest.
Just roving around the forest, like losing their minds.
Also, I'm backtracking a little bit back to the Sino, Cyrus, Lisa stuff because we brought Cyrus up. I feel like I can do that. I think the whole like academic stuff is interesting because Sino was so quickly willing to leave the Akademiya right before the Archon like line started. Like that's the whole thing, right? Is Tignari asked for his help and Sino realized something was going wrong. And Sino was like, yeah, screw that. I'm leaving the Akademiya. And maybe that's why he supports Lisa leaving so easily too. And I wonder if that's something that Cyrus kind of passed into them. I wonder how much Cyrus really cares about the Akademiya in the end. And I would love to actually get to meet him. We've only heard him from the other side of a door during the tomato battles. But Sino says this, Sino says this during Windbloom. Shared aspirations always have a way of bringing people into each other's orbit. And I just thought that was really sweet. And that's kind of like Sino's reason for him and Lisa being like brought back together in the library during Windbloom. He's like, we were meant to fall back into each other's orbits. So I'm like, oh my God, stop it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really clear that Cyrus was a father figure for Sino.
Yes.
Not so much Gafor, who might have been his student as well. And Lisa maybe is like somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I do think in my mind, Cyrus sort of became more parental and less scholarly as he aged.
Yeah, because at that point, people wanted him to experiment on Sino, and he didn't because he was just like kind of felt for this kid, and there's obviously like they weren't studying together. Like Gafor and Lisa studied together, but not Sino. Like they were part of the same place, had the same mentor, but not at the same time.
Yeah, I was curious if Lisa and Sino ever studied together.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, wait, do we even know that? Like, I don't even know.
I feel like that there's in even the conversation that Lisa has with Gafor, it just seems like they were specifically studying together. And the age differences seem to make sense with Sino kind of being a younger dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough information to make a full like decision on that, but it is a good theory that Sino is definitely younger, but he also comes to the rescue during the manga. Like he's old enough to know how to fix things.
And in the words of Tiff, he also wears stupid fucking shorts.
Yeah.
Not in the
He wears
manga.
stupid fucking shorts.
I think that's sort of,
That shows his youngness.
informing
Yeah.
his age.
His age. That's why they put him in little boy shorts.
But you know what? Lisa wears a
Boy
stupid fucking hat
shorts.
with a doily on it. So
Yeah. Fashion is totally just.
Fashion is dead in Spot.
Yeah.
that's what happens, at Sumeru Academia. Like your fashion sense is the first thing to
Yeah.
go.
I mean, after they make you wear those green sacks for years.
That's why Lisa came back and was like, here's the glow up.
Yeah.
Like, y'all fuckers are still in your robes. I'm here using your robes, styling, bitch.
She's like, look what I made.
Lisa actually is working with Farazan on creating new uniforms.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck yes.
And Candace. Candace is going to get involved in that too. Candace and Deha.
I wonder how much Lisa knows about Farazan.
The old ass lady.
She's probably like the reason that Farazan escaped somehow.
Speaking of Lisa making things, one of my favorite things is that she created a special heating cauldron that has like a time delay and it's semi-automatic and it's got all this like cool shit. She spent a whole lot of money on it, a whole lot of time. And she says like it could do all these precise heating tasks with only 2 pulls of a lever. She uses it to make tea.
Cloud Retainer could
Loves
never.
tea.
Yeah, she loves tea. I mean, I love a good tea too, but that's a lot.
And she also mentioned that she had to commandeer the alchemy workshop for
Yeah.
2 full weeks So this reminded me that the alchemy workshop is not just Albedo's cave on
Yeah.
Dragonspine, right?
Right.
Or Timaeus' little hut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lisa says that there is an upstairs from the library, there is an alchemy workshop.
I hate it that we can't see that yet. Like I want to see all the different spaces in Mondstadt.
Well, it's just like how you can't see the like rare book room either.
Yeah, the restricted section of the library.
So there's a lot of question. I mean, we can't even see Klee's solitary confinement room. I know all about it, but I can't go in it for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you had said it earlier, Brandon. You had said, I wonder if like Lisa and Albedo are close, or maybe I'm embellishing that. And you said that you wondered if Albedo and Lisa knew each other and worked together.
Yeah, like how did Albedo feel about, I mean, apparently Lisa knows alchemy and used that in part to make the special heating cauldron.
Which also makes sense because she used to be in charge of potions until she pawned that off. And meds. I mean, she basically plays doctor.
And Albedo's like the other genius of the game. Like those two are like geniuses on a whole other level of most people.
Yeah, and I will say, I feel like I can't talk as much for Lisa as I'd like to, even though I do write a lot about Lisa in my little fan fiction. But with Albedo, I think we've seen him deal with other smart people. And the other smart person I'm referring to is Tignari. I think Tignari could be also referred to as a genius in this situation. And him and Tignari get along great. They like are best buds. So I don't see Lisa needing the alchemy lab like that as something that would threaten Albedo or like really upset him, especially when he can just go off to the mountain and do as he pleases there. I mean, I'm being
Off
honest.
to the mountain.
I know, that's what he
The
does.
dragon's spine he go.
He's just like, all right, Lisa, you need this for 2 weeks. If you guys need me, I'll be in Dragonspine.
I just know that I never really thought about it before, but after researching Lisa, I'm kind of shipping her and Albedo together.
Oh my God, stop. No, I can't. I understand
it.
it, but I can't get behind it.
Like, get the two geniuses together. They're the only ones smart enough for each other.
True. It's true, but no. I definitely see Lisa as more of like an older sister or even like an older cousin figure for Albedo.
I mean, she is married to Jean, so I understand.
Is she though?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I say I'm too Jean D. Luke for the Jean Lisa.
I mean, I am too, but also D-Luke
They're
needs to make
open.
a fucking move.
Well,
If you
that's
don't make
fair.
a move, then no. And have no redheaded, strawberry head baby.
Also, like, yeah, I guess they're not married. I mean, Lisa, she can't be tied down by
I
things
know
like
she's
that.
always flirting with the traveler. I mean, she is. It's the truth.
Hey, sweetie.
Because we brought up D. Luke, I do want to say you guys were talking earlier about how like Lisa has like this thing against visions and she has a ton of voice lines, not necessarily against it, but like where she acknowledges the fact that, you know, visions aren't necessarily the safest thing.
Yeah, she's very wary, I would say. She's not like against it, but she's like, it's a necessary tool. She specifically says, a vision may seem like a great tool, but one day the power one accumulates always finds a way to turn back on you. Should such a day come for me, so long as you're around. Never mind. So I think,
Flirting with us again.
I mean, flirting a little bit, but I think it's also like she understands because she references like the Akademiya magics. And depending on what magic we're talking about, there's always the coin flip.
Yeah.
That leans into my theory that everyone with a vision is going to be weaponized at some point.
Exactly. And it leans a little bit into a theory that I have that references the Pale Princess and the Six Pygmies. But I have a feeling that she understands there's always a cause and effect. And for great power, not that it's just great responsibility, but there comes great sacrifice with that. And we've seen it even with delusions, which aren't visions, but they're doing their best too. And there's something there where people are literally sacrificing their lives just to get this. So it's interesting because I think, I mean, to go into IRL like physics, you can't create something out of nothing, and visions kind of come out of nowhere. So where did it come from?
Where did it go? Where do I go? Cat Night Joe?
Exactly. Like
Well, they're a part of the god's elemental power.
yes, the god farts.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up delusions because that's where I was going with this. So in the manga, Lisa is sent to talk to Diluc because they have this realization that what they call the Black Fire incident, which is what Kale does in the main area of Mondstadt, she causes a huge fire. They're trying to figure out who did it.
Still the coolest thing.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out who did it, and immediately, Kaya's like, "Oh, this is Diluc and our father's delusion." And Kaya goes to check that out, and he quickly confirms that's not. Meanwhile, Lisa and Jean and Amber are doing research together in the library, and they come to this conclusion that whoever caused the incident where Krapus died must also be the person who's doing this. That's the research they have to figure out more of. So Lisa is sent by Jean to go talk to Diluc. Now, there's two big things that come out of this conversation.
Did you say by Jean?
Yes.
That's Lisa's favorite Jean.
Yes.
There you go.
Correct.
But Lisa goes, and two really fun things come out of this. First off, we see a beautiful Cecilia garden, which, where is that, Diluc? Why have I not seen that yet? Once Lisa stops fangirling like I am over the Cecilia field or the Cecilia greenhouse, Lisa's like, hey, so I'm here because of like the incident in the town. And Diluc's like, Kaya was already here. I had nothing to do with it, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, all right, defensive much? We think whoever did this also did this to your father. And it goes into this whole conversation. And Lisa, we find out, is not a fan of delusions. And she makes a comment to Diluc about, what happens when you use a power that isn't yours. And she very specifically says, in this world, everything comes with a price. So it continues that theme that Lisa might know more, or Lisa saw what was happening in Sumeru and decided to like back off. But she does warn Diluc. And the third thing we find out from Lisa, also from the manga, is about Erok. If we TBT to Erok, he is an inspector in the Knights of Favonius who has been like excommunicated since then. And Lisa and Jean were the ones who found him out. Basically, he lied, and his lies led to Diluc leaving the Knights, and Erok kind of covered up what actually happened to Krapus so that it wouldn't look like, a merchant had all this power because he didn't want people to know about the delusions. And we do find out through Lisa that her and Jean were the ones who got him like kicked out of the Knights. So again, Lisa knowing more than she should, or figuring things out quicker than everyone else. I don't know.
Yeah. Genius.
Definitely a little bit of both, because yes, she's a genius. However, don't think, knowing her, she probably had enough info to go off of that she's like, yeah, no, this is absolutely this motherfucker right here.
It leads a lot of questions to be asked.
Can we talk about her fear of pumpkins?
Oh my God, yes.
I love that there's actually a full name for it. It's cucurbitophobia, is the fear of pumpkins.
Yeah, cucurbitophobia. Would you like to take a stab at it, Feeny?
No. I literally, even in my notes, just wrote fear of pumpkins.
You're like, I'm not even gonna try it.
The funny thing is, like in like IRL, like part of that phobia comes from people being mostly afraid of jack-o'-lanterns. And like when the Irish and the Celts and the Scottish migrated over to the US, they started carving pumpkins instead of potatoes and turnips for like, All Hallows Eve and all kinds of stuff like that. And it's kind of where that like people became afraid of like the jack-o'-lanterns and like the story of like the headless horseman and things like that. And I'm like, where the hell did Lisa pick up the cucurbitophobia?
I mean, I would assume it's like a wink and a nod to like the witch being afraid of pumpkins. That's actually really fucking cute. But I love the idea that there's like something mystical happening with pumpkins and Teyvat, where she's like, forbidden knowledge lies within the pumpkin. Like she's so scared of it.
Maybe. Oh man.
She saw them do some things in Sumeru to pumpkins. She was like, never again.
Yeah. I'm leaving immediately.
We also never see pumpkins in games. So where the fuck are pumpkins?
We have seen pumpkins.
Where?
They're in Mondstadt. Aren't they right at the front there? How does she walk through the gate?
Are they at the
Wait,
gates?
are they?
Yes.
I need to see pictures.
So she has to use the other exit to get out.
Oh, wow.
I know. Isn't that terrible? I'm surprised Jean allows that.
Maybe Jean put them there.
She just kind of stays in the library. Like
That's
she might not
true.
even go that way. She could just go out the other exit.
I'm going to go rewatch all the events that Lisa's in and find her standing next to that cart.
Like staring nervously at it.
No, like she doesn't even know there's a pumpkin there. And she's like, la 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 la, pumpkin.
This reminds me of how in The Sims 4, if you is it shift click or control click, but you can set anything as a head. So you can have a TV or like another sim as your head. Now I just kind of want to make her in The Sims and do that.
I've never seen that.
Oh my god.
I'm terrified.
You need to do it on your next play.
But I did want to say there were two other really quick, funny, like things I found about Lisa. Which one, Lisa doesn't have a like trailer video like all the other characters.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a miscellany.
Yeah, Kaya is the first one to get one. So I don't think Amber has one either.
No, I don't think so.
That's so sad.
Iconic.
But they did announce Lisa on Facebook and I believe Instagram, but I was able to find the Facebook post. And there's a quote from Lisa, and it says, "If you put enough flour into a hydro slime, would it turn into dough slime?"
Oh no, yeah, I just remember that. Oh
And
my
it's the
fucking
first
God.
question she asked a sage on her first day in the Sumeru Akademiya. So she went in knowing she wanted tea biscuits and trying to figure out how to make that shit easier.
She's like, I know what I'm here for,
Tea biscuits.
and I'm going for it.
She right away knew. The other thing I found really interesting is Diona has a voice line about Lisa where she says that Lisa is a regular drinker, which I feel like we know our Mondstadt alcoholics.
She's
We am-
definitely doing hot toddies.
But yeah, that's never brought up anywhere else. Like, you know, Kaya, Rosaria, we got Venti, D-Luke literally owns a bar. It never comes up anywhere. But Diona makes note that Lisa is a regular drinker. She says something like, how could such a smart person be such a drunken, like whatever?
You gotta think of it. She knows that the best drinks are gonna be at the Cat's Tail.
I mean, she's all about pleasure and like, you know, she takes a lot of nap. Maybe that's why she takes a lot of naps.
Yeah.
But she's all about just like enjoying life, whatever life she has left.
Do you think when she's like, yay, tea time, she's actually like
Oh no.
putting vodka or like whiskey?
It's whiskey. It's whiskey.
She's having an Irish coffee.
So there's one other really interesting voice line that involves Eula again. And I don't remember if it's a voice line or someone's storyline, but basically one day Eula was going to Jean's office and these two knights saw her and they were like, oh my God, why is a member of the Lawrence clan going to Jean's office? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And she didn't come back and they started to get really panicky. And all of a sudden, Lisa and Kaya walk by, and the two knights like freak out, and they're like, "Eula Lawrence went over to Jean's office, and she hasn't come out," and blah blah blah. And Lisa's like, "Did she look mean and angry?" And they're like, "Yeah." And she's like, "Oh no, they started tea without me." And she literally runs ahead, like runs away to go have tea with Jean and Eula. And Kaya, meanwhile, like takes the two knights aside, and he like it says specifically that he's like trying to hold back his giggles, and he's like, "Guys, like you gotta trust Jean. Like there's a reason Eula was hired, and a reason Eula is in the knights. She's cool. Just let it be." And so, you know, again, Lisa was like pissed about missing tea time, but Eula we know is a drinker.
I love that Eula and Jean and Lisa are all drinking together. That's so cute.
Right? They're having like tea breaks and tea time. And
Yeah.
I think it's cute to see that like Kaya too is defending Eula. You know, it's nice to see that the
And
higher
Jean,
ups in
yeah.
the knights. Oh yeah, defending both of them. You're right. It's nice to see that the higher ups in the knights all have each other's back for the most part.
Yes. Yeah.
Which I personally love.
Eula despising Lisa.
Yeah, but having tea with her. That's what I'm saying. To an outsider, she would be like, yeah, fuck that bitch. But then she's having tea with her every Tuesday. So, you know. And also, while we're talking about characters and what they think, Barbara has this comment about Lisa where she's like, you know, if Lisa ever decides to become a star, I'll support her. I'm like, I didn't know Lisa sang.
Also, like, little girl, who do you think you are?
Alice would not be here for it. Alice be like, you gotta support her, you gotta support yourself.
So you need to fix your fucking shit, my girl.
I mean, to me, that just reads as straight up like, I'm jealous of Lisa and Jean.
Oh shit. She's like, I want to be close to my
that's
sister.
a good point.
I don't know. The exact voice line reads differently. So you can investigate
If you ever want to
that
be
on
a
your own.
star, I'll help you.
It's like, I am a star, bitch.
And then the last person in the Knights who has like some things to say about Lisa is Mika. And first off, Lisa is like, Huffman is so lucky to have like a cutie like Mika as a brother, which I think is adorable.
Oh.
But
Mhm.
Lisa actually helped Mika hone his craft and like helped him get all these books and stuff to help him learn like map making and cartography. And she's actually the one who like pushes him into like his first job. And I forget what his first job is. And Klee notes that Lisa always gives her treats and lets her use the alchemy lab to make gunpowder.
I mean, also Lisa sort of hoodwinked Mika's brother into doing her job.
Yeah, well, Huffman deserves it, so not a fan.
Did Swan deserve it though? I don't know.
No, Swan didn't. Swan seems nice. Huffman, on the other hand, he's in my top 5 least favorite characters. So
I mean,
Right up there with Cloud Retainer.
no, with Dodoray. You know it's bad when you're on a list with Dodoray and Gold.
ugh.
But there is one thing that we haven't talked about at all. Lisa, in regards to the Hexen Circle.
Oh, she hates them. Well, she doesn't hate them.
Before we jump into the hatred or possible hatred, a quick refresher for anyone who does not remember what the Hexen Circle is. The Hexen Circle is an organization of quote unquote powerful witches or mages. They conduct a lot of Irminsul exploration, which has a lot of question marks in my head for me. And they tend to have these like really cute formal tea parties. And originally they met above the Falcon Coast on this island, as seen in, was that Windbloom? When we go up and find their tea table. And
Yes.
the coven is supposed to be comprised of people who could even possibly be stronger than the gods of Teyvat. We know Alice and Gold are both a part of that, as well as Mona's master. But yeah, Al, you were going to say...
I think, what was it? I think you have the quote where it's like, the Hexen Circle and Irminsul exploration feel cold to me.
Yeah, she says, the idea just leaves me cold.
Which, one, it's interesting because she already knows that the Irminsul exploration is a part of what the Hexen Circle does, specifically Nicole. And I don't think anyone else fucking knows that.
Yeah, I agree. She seems to know too much, right? Again, Lisa.
Everybody seems to know too much, though.
We don't know for sure, but maybe Lisa at some point was considered a disciple of one of the Hexen Circle witches and just decided, yeah, no.
Was Senora ever a disciple of the Hexen Circle?
No.
No.
It's also on brand for her to just be like, no, like they are trying to find out way too much and I don't want to be a part of that.
For either the reasons of it's going to take too much work or I know where this is going to lead.
Right.
I still think we just don't know which side of that coin she's on.
That leads into my theory of like, one, it could just be like the pursuit of knowledge. As much as it is a admirable and an amazing feat, it also comes with, you know, a very dark-sided part of it. I also think that she does actually know. And just because that interview is kind of quote unquote defunct, I still believe it.
Hey, you never know.
Exactly.
Yeah, it could be a big reveal later.
I was just gonna say, because we know Irminsul isn't affected by children's books and how kind of like gung-ho Lisa is in getting the Pale Princess and the Six Pygmies back. I think the reason she's a librarian is that she's still actually looking for knowledge, but is looking through children's stories to find the truth of this world.
Interesting.
I love that. I love the idea that she's like, no, I'm just like, I'm not interested, but secretly she's like doing the most
Exactly.
pursuit of knowledge.
Meanwhile, she loves to hang out in the restricted section, which are like probably the only books that survived the Great Fire, too. So lots of questions, Lisa. But that being said, if Lisa were here, she'd be telling us that, hey, cuties, it's time to have tea. So I think we should wrap it up for the day. If you liked this episode, please feel free to email us at talesofthepotpod@gmail.com. Let us know what you thought of it or what you didn't like about it. If you despised it, like Eula despises Lisa, let us know too. You can give us a follow on Instagram, Tales of Teyvat Pod, or Twitter, Tales of Teyvat. Additionally, you can feel free to give us a rating wherever you listen to your podcasts, or visit our Ko-fi page if you're interested in buying us a cup of tea. In this case, all money goes to just making the podcast a little bit better for all of y'all. Otherwise, next week we will be discussing one of our favorite events, if not our favorite event each year, Lantern Rite, and the significance it has in Genshin. Until then, safe journeys, travelers. We'll see you next time.
Bye, lazy ass nerds.
Me, every
I'm
day.
not lazy. I just like to nap.
I just like tea.
I just like my morning, midday, and evening